Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be looking at the recently released Walking Dead hardback graphic novel Here's Negan, a collection which includes all the Negan backstory issues that until now could only previously be found in the monthly Image Plus preview comics. As expected, this video will contain spoilers, so please don't watch if that will be a problem. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. The opening shot of Here's Negan begins with an iconic image of the titular character creating his trusty weapon Lucille. Shortly after, the reader is transported back to the days before the Walker apocalypse, as they go on a journey to find out how Negan would become the man responsible for leading the Saviours. The story of Here's Negan is split into two distinct halves, with the first focusing on Negan during the early days of the Walker outbreak, whilst the second centres on Negan coming into contact with different groups of people before eventually rising to power. I'll start this review by discussing the first half of the story first, which I feel is much better than the second. The first shot we see of Negan pre-apocalypse features him playing table tennis with some of his pupils after school. Now, if anyone was wondering whether Negan's language was something that he developed after the Walker outbreak, well, the first couple of pages illustrate that he was a foul-mouthed jerk way before the entire world went to shit. It's pretty clear from the beginning that this origin story isn't about a good guy who one day suddenly becomes bad. Instead, Negan was always an asshole, and when society's rules fell apart, he just went on to become an even bigger one. Personally, I'm glad that the writers didn't portray Negan as an angelic character before the events of The Walking Dead, because I'm not sure I could find such a scenario to be believable. Speaking of being an asshole, we quickly learn that Negan is cheating on his wife, and things only end once he tells his lover that his wife has cancer, due to her becoming angry at the thought of Negan trying to make her feel guilty. Again, this comic doesn't go out of its way in an attempt to convince readers to immediately like Negan by portraying him as a great gym teacher or a great husband. Instead, it shows him for what he really is, a flawed, messed up man, and I think the writers do deserve some credit for having the balls to pull this off. Negan's wife Lucille passes away due to the cancer whilst in hospital, and it's during this point that the walkers begin to appear and the world begins to collapse in on itself. The parts of the comic which are set just after the initial outbreak are some of my favourite moments. With Rick waking up from his coma after the walkers had already appeared, comic book readers never really got the chance to witness the mass panic that ensued during the opening days. Witnessing Negan and other people in the hospital lay their eyes on walkers for the first time made for interesting viewing. I also like the fact that Rick and Negan were both situated in hospitals during the initial outbreak, albeit in completely different circumstances. After leaving the hospital, Negan eventually meets up with some strangers and decides to tag along as part of their group. One of the group members carries a baseball bat with him which Negan would claim as his own, after everyone in the group bar him was killed during a Walker ambush. As time goes on, Negan begins to encounter more people, but one thing remains constant: they all die except for him. The double page spread in which Negan comes into contact with 3 different groups only for them all to die in front of him makes for very poignant viewing. In addition, it also does a good job in explaining 2 key characteristics that would go on to form a big part of his character, those being his godlike complex and his disdain for the weak. Being the only sole survivor of all these groups seems to have imbued Negan with a belief that he was better than everybody else, something that would cause his already large ego to continue to grow. Secondly, everyone else had died because unlike him they were weak and scared, something that Negan actually says to a girl who has been bitten in the second page of this spread. I recently reviewed The Walking Dead Volume 28, and in this installment there is a conversation in which Negan tells Rick about how he viewed people as weak in the past, causing him not to care for them. I can't help but feel that this was done intentionally on the writer's behalf, and it's nice to see how this core belief of his came to fruition. As much as I did enjoy witnessing Negan meeting up with various different groups, I feel that after this point in the comics things take a bit of a dip in terms of quality. I said at the beginning of this video that I didn't really enjoy the second half of Here's Negan as much as the first, and that's because I don't really feel that it teaches us anything new about his character. The second half predominantly focuses on Negan coming into contact with Dwight and his group of people, a group that would eventually go on to become the Saviours. Admittedly, it is interesting to see Dwight before he looked like Two-Face, and I do like the fact that there is a scene of Sherry being a bitch to him, which backs up my claim in my Volume 28 review that she isn't a very nice person. But ultimately, I don't feel that we learn an awful lot about Negan after this point in the comic. I'll admit it is intriguing seeing Negan grow in confidence and influence when he begins to make decisions on behalf of the group, but by this point we are pretty much just seeing the Negan that's been in the comics since his introduction. Before the story's conclusion, Negan comes into contact with another group of people, and with Negan being Negan, he proceeds to bash a guy's brains in due to him offering the sexual services of a girl in his group. I mean, I get that Negan doesn't like rape and sexual assault, but personally I feel that this narrative idea has already been used too many times. We've seen Negan kill one of his own men when they attempted to rape Holly, and Negan also killed Alpha after she refused to change her stance on rape. I didn't really need to see something similar take place once again. The story ends with Negan creating Lucille and proclaiming to the people around him that Lucille will protect them just like she protected him. It's nice to see the symbolism behind the bat that meant so much to him, and it does help shed some light as to why he would become so attached to the thing. One issue I do have with the creation of Lucille, however, is that the method in which Negan came to acquire his signature weapon was just far too convenient. I mean, first he just happened to encounter a random guy with a baseball bat who ended up dying, allowing him to snatch it, and secondly he just happened to get into a fight with a dude in an area next to some barbed wire, which during the aftermath he decided to wrap around his baseball bat. It might sound like I'm being nitpicky, but to me it all just seems rather forced. I would have much rather there was some deeper meaning behind the bat than Negan just randomly finding it. Imagine instead that the bat was Lucille's most prized possession, something she asked Negan to bring to her while she was dying in hospital. After she passed and turned, Negan couldn't bring himself to put her down, so instead he took the bat with him as he escaped from the overrun hospital, leaving Lucille as a walker. This bat would serve as a reminder to him of Lucille. It would remind him of how he failed her even in death, and he would protect his new Lucille at all costs. Now I just made up that scenario in my head in a couple of minutes, but to me something like that would be much more affecting than the origin story of Lucille that we were treated to. It's a shame that the real story behind his bat just isn't that particularly interesting. Before I wrap things up, I want to quickly mention the length of his Negan. Coming in at only 72 pages, it isn't going to take anyone a long time to blast through the entire book. In fact, it took me about 20 minutes to read it from start to finish, and that was with me writing notes for this video factored in as well. To conclude, his Negan no doubt has some great moments. However, after the halfway point it loses its way a little bit. I love seeing Negan pre-apocalypse as well as in the early days of the Walker outbreak, however seeing him boss around saviours and smash another man's skull open filled me with a sense of deja vu. Couple this with the uninspired origin of his weapon Lucille and the extremely short number of pages in the book, it makes it hard for me to really recommend Here's Negan to anyone apart from the most hardcore Negan enthusiasts. So there you have it, my review of Here's Negan. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree with me, and as always thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.